Africa is preparing to take legal action against the government of national unity for allegedly failing, to clamp down on unregistered and non-compliant spaza shops. Now, this follows the hospitalization of an 8-year-old boy who allegedly fell ill after eating snacks purchased from a local spaza shop. Joining me now, I'd like to welcome the forum's leader, Tebogo Mashelompane. Tebogo, good day. Thank you so much for joining us here on News in Focus on Hilal TV.
Thank you, Mr. Patel, for having us, and good also afternoon to the viewers.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Tebogo, talk to us about the crux of this case. Obviously, it is directed at government, but more so over one of the plaintiffs would be the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs.
Yes, you are correct. Obviously, we intend taking the Minister of COGTA to court because he's the one responsible in this case. Our reasons are very simple. We had this case before, many cases, and then the first case last year, it was in February, and then it did not get that media attention. But after those cases, the 23 died also in Soweto. That's when there was a serious media coverage on the issue. And then we expected then that the minister will be proactive and come up with ways that will prevent this thing from happening. The president announced that there will be regulations and spaza shops owners must register, and that was rolled out. And then though we knew that it was going to have cracks in between because it was just a reactive situation that was not planned. And then now the issue comes again. The minister comes and he goes back to Soweto and say, no, we are sorry that your child is in hospital. So we're going to take the minister personally to court. He must be held liable for lack of oversight, because it is the duty of the minister to play oversight. Because if he play oversight, he will already understand that there's a problem here, especially that it is the very same government that tells us that in Gauteng, there were applications of around 17,000 plus, and then only 4,000 were accepted, were successful. So meaning the rest of the people were not successful, but they are still in operation, whereas the laws are very clear to say you cannot operate a spaza shop without a license. If somebody drives a car without a license, they arrest the person immediately. So why, when coming to the issue of spaza shop, and the issue must now change, rules must be there, but they must not be followed.
Yeah, I mean, Tebogo, it leads to the next question with regards to the job of not just COGTA and government, but also the police, because we got 4,000, 17,000 had applied, 4,000 were accepted. That's a huge gap. That's 13,000. I mean, that's as big as it can be. Now, obviously, nobody really knows where the other 13,000 which have not been registered are across the province. But the fact is that this is the work where maybe the police need to step in, isn't it? To try and say, okay, you are not registered. Unfortunately, you have to close because government doesn't deem you fit to be operating in these areas.
Of course, but they must get the direction from municipalities. The municipalities are under COGTA. So the police won't just randomly decide to go without a proper communication with the Ministry of COGTA. So both the departments should have sat down and said, we are now going to embark on a very robust checking of spaza shops, papers, illegalities and legalities and so forth. But that, it seems, not happened, because if today we are still talking the same language, where it is even alleged that the very same spaza shop that is illegal, even the owner is illegal. So obviously, those are still allegations, of course, but the spaza shop is illegal. And then how many spaza shops are illegal in South Africa? I can tell you for free, in villages and townships, there is no inspectors coming to such particular areas. So they will go to these areas where they're closer to media and the cameras, and then they call the media, they make a media festival there, taking pictures and everything. But when supposed to do the job, nothing is done. After they enter their cars, and then with the 18 or 20 private security, they forget about a child that passed on or children that passed on. So this is the situation that is currently happening, and it is worrying because we feel that these people are not interested in solving the problem.
Tebogo, we're back here again, talking about spaza shops, talking about children being admitted to hospital. And God forbid, we hope that we do not see any more children dying because of this. I mean, surely we're not supposed to be having these conversations. We're supposed to be having the conversations of the spaza shop is registered, they are now free to trade, there can be inspections. That's all that needs to happen now, inspections of the goods that are being sold at these spaza shops. And here we are talking about another boy who now has to stay in hospital because he allegedly fell ill eating these snacks. I mean, really, it's a case of 10 steps forward, 100 steps back when we are dealing with this crisis within the country.
Yeah, no, you are right. One, the boy is in hospital. He's losing his studies because he's sick. When he comes back, he might not be as strong as he was, and then he'll still take time before he goes to school. So he might even lose a year and sit at home. And then whose fault is that? It's the fault of this government. Because even ourselves, we're asking a simple question. Why are we still talking the issue of spaza shop in 2025? When all regulations were put in place, when even money, 500 million set aside to say we're going to develop and what. It is just a political mumbo jumbo. It's a political staging where people just say money is there. Even now, I can simply ask a question to say, how is this money going to be distributed to the people who are relevant in running the spaza shops? The answer will be, no, they must apply, they must check online and so forth. You know, there's no proper organization of this thing. There is no proper facilitation of this thing. This was launched, the 500 million in Soweto. And then what about other people? What about people who are staying far in Eastern Cape? What about people that are in Limpopo? What about people who are in Northwest, in Mavoloka, Jericho, that side of the villages? So this is a problem. And that is why we are saying, why are we still here when we've got ministers that are fully paid, who have houses, one in Cape Town and one in Pretoria, staying for free in those houses, and even having two cars that are worth 800,000 maximum, and then they still don't do their job, and they've got the resources to do their job. You see, there's one thing to say, I don't have the resources to do the job, and to say, I have the resource, but I'm doing nothing. So this also forces us as the forum to say, we are now going to force you as the minister to do your job, because you cannot be coming to us time and again when there's a problem and saying to us, hey, we are sorry, family. Can we bring those kids? Can we heal this child who's in ICU at the moment?
Tebogo, there were reports at the start of the year, and I think this comes down to, again, inspections and the monitoring of the shops, where there were people that were not the actual owners of the shops going and registering on their name. And allegations were made that this was done through foreign nationals who had been asking South Africans to go ahead and register on their name so that they would not get caught out if they did not have the necessary papers to be in this country. Is that something that the Forum for South Africa has encountered, given that if this is proven to be true, and again, this is allegations that we have been told as the media, if this is proven to be true, is this, again, a fault on the part of municipalities for not really going ahead and doing double checking, this monitoring of something which is very important, not only in the township economy, but also the protection of consumers?
Yeah, no, that's true. So we are not the ones who raised this issue in terms of those people who register on behalf of others. There were people who raised it first, and then we made a follow-up also on that. So there were people who were registering for other people. You know, somebody will be paid 3,000 rand, some to an extent of 2,000 to register as spaza shop on behalf of somebody who's illegal in the country, and then obviously some got away with that. But the problem still comes back to say this thing was communicated to the government. The government is aware of this particular thing. They even issued out a statement to say, if we find you, we'll arrest you. But I can tell you, up until now, I've never heard of anybody who's been arrested who has done that, and many has done that, where they actually assisted the illegal people to run the spaza shop. And you know, just to add on that, you know, the problem here is that when we speak like this and say illegal people, it sounds like hey, these people are xenophobic. But if the government is doing their job, the element of xenophobia won't even come closer to the statements, because in every country there are laws. I mean, I cannot move from here and go to Bangladesh and start a spaza shop. There are laws in Bangladesh. There are laws in Ethiopia. There are laws everywhere. I can't just move as a South African without papers and enter another country. I mean, practically it is impossible. I know that that is not going to happen, and it's only few South Africans, if indeed they are entering other countries, because we are the law-abiding citizens. That is why even now South Africans who run spaza shops, some of them had to close until they register, because they are law-abiding citizens. And then why must we make others to suffer? And then whereas these are the people also in this particular country, but we allow those who are illegal in the country to succeed. I think everything goes back to our municipalities, goes back to the government, because municipalities are supposed to do their job. And then if they don't, the Ministry of COGTA has the responsibility vested upon by the Constitution of this country to make sure that they play oversight, to make sure that they hold people accountable. As long as in this country we are not going to hold people accountable, we will still talk next week. We'll still talk in the next 2 months again about the very same thing. After we issued a statement last week, yesterday, 2 kids also affected in another school because of eating something again.
Tebogo, thank you so much for joining us in News in Focus on Hilal TV. Much appreciated.
No, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That's Tebogo Mashilampane at the Forum for South Africa's leader. Of course, we will be keeping an eye on that case as it continues. Now, after the break, we're going to be shifting our focus to Palestine. So Israel is demanding that Hamas disarms itself. Only then will they go ahead and agree to a new ceasefire deal. Remember, Israel reneged on their deal last month when, of course, started or, of course, continued its genocide in Gaza. I'm going to be speaking to Palestinian journalist Rafa Muzma after the break with regards to that. Do stay tuned.